Welcome to the Brent Weinbach podcast. My name is Brent Weinbach. And last week, I was talking about how because Halloween decorations are out now since the beginning of August, the Halloween season is now 3 months long, and that it seems as though we're headed towards perhaps a year-long Halloween in the future. I was thinking about that a bit some more over this past week, and it made me think about how if Halloween really did start to get longer and longer every year, and that Halloween it became a thing where you not only are you having to have Halloween decorations are coming up not just on November 1st, which is what I said last week, but they're starting to go up even earlier for the following Halloween. So you start seeing Halloween decorations go up on October 15th for the following Halloween, not the Halloween coming up, because that Halloween decorations were already up since November 1st. And then you start running out of Halloweens to balance out the decorations that go up. But if Halloween dominated the year and it just was a year-long holiday, what would the world look like, or at least what would the country look like, if Halloween was normal all the time? And I thought that it would really dramatically change what we consider to be mainstream. I mean, what would become mainstream is goth would become mainstream, and the jock lifestyle would become fringe. So it would be normal to wear dark clothing and have, white makeup on or whatever, or to be pale. It would be normal to be a creature of the night. That would be trendy, in fact. And meanwhile, basketball players, those would be freaks. So anybody playing football would be a freak. And if you go to football games, you're a freak. And it would be a minority too. So just think about the world being flipped in that way. Think about athletes being a marginalized kind of subculture. And just imagine that late night talk shows and YouTubers and all that, it's all Instagram people, okay? Instagram models, it's all gothed out. People, imagine the president of the United States looks like Robert Smith, or maybe, it's something like that, or who would be a good example? I mean, imagine the president of the United States is Crispin Glover. And imagine that. Just imagine everything being just really Halloween thing. I guess it would be kind of like the Tim Burton, the Nightmare Before Christmas. It's kind of like a Halloween land, we would just live in a Halloween world. Well, that's what we're headed towards, is my point, is that these decorations are changing the world. They could change the world in an interesting way. And I myself am something of a creature of the night, so I don't know how I fit into that context, Does that make me become really trendy? Do I become really mainstream because of Halloween becoming more popular? I don't think I'm a dark person, but I have dark features physically, and I have, I'm dark in the sense that I'm up late. I'm recording this late, by the way. It's a hot summer night, and I came back from a show, but that's, maybe I'll talk about that show a little later during the after show debrief, which will be even later than it is right now. But yeah, just think about athletes being being a kind of, this whatever, this forgotten kind of, or this ignored group of people, and not just athletes, but people who are more sort of orange and stuff. You know what I mean? I'm not saying. I mean, that could be a lot of things, but kind of beach type people. I talked about it last week about, well, you can go to the beach now and wear a Dracula outfit because it's Halloween still right now in August, But imagine kind of more typical people who go to the beach. That would be that's just some sort of freak fest, Imagine if our president was a gimp. That's what we're headed towards right now. Imagine the president of the United States is a gimp. He wears a gimp mask, and when he talks, he has to unzip and give his State of the Union address, and then when he's done, he zips up. Meanwhile, vice president is all chained up and stuff, maybe gets whipped by the Secretary of the State. It's just all gimps and dominatrixes and stuff. Not to kind of conflate that culture with Halloween. It's not all, but it does seem to sort of fit, doesn't it? You know what I mean? I think Halloween creatures are they're part of that sort of S&M world a little bit, aren't they? Yeah, they are. Come to think of it, when you think of Tim Burton, he seems like he really is influenced by bondage culture in a way. Look at Edward Scissorhands. He's kind of a bondagey kind of guy. I mean, he's almost kind of a half gimp in a way, Edward Scissorhands. His outfit it's kind of a mix between a gimp and one of the demons in Hellraiser. He's kind of like a mix between Pinhead and Robert Smith, isn't he? And Freddy Krueger to some degree. So, am I looking forward to goth going mainstream? Yeah, sure. Let's see what happens. I'll try it out. I'll see what it looks like. Speaking of athletes, I was sitting next to an athlete on the plane recently. So as you know, last week I said I was going to Tulsa, and by the way, I hate to admit it, but I did not throw the toothbrush away in Tulsa. I kept it. I brought it back home and I threw it away at home. I just felt for the guy. I just couldn't. I didn't have the heart to leave that toothbrush all alone in Tulsa. I said, "You coming back with me, and you're gonna go in the trash, in your home area, where you belong." I know that I should have checked myself. I need to break myself. I think I mentioned this last week, that the movie Menace to Society, I was rewatching clips of it recently, and I realized how much of an impact that had on me. I don't know how much, I forgot how much I talked about this last week, but I think that when I talk to myself in my head, I oftentimes hear Lorenz Tate's character's voice from that movie, Menace to Society. O-Dog is his name. I hear that voice in my head, and I only recently identified that voice as his voice. But anyway, I was sitting next to this so I was on the plane going to Tulsa, and I was sitting next to this guy who seemed like an athlete. He was huge. The guy was huge. At first, I was thinking maybe this guy is a football player or something like that, but no, I think he was a wrestler. The more I looked at him and the more I looked at his physique, I feel like football players have a little more maybe girth or something, but he didn't have that. He was big, but he was tight, and he seemed wrestler-esque to me. He was a big guy, but he seemed young too. He seemed like he could have been 25 or to 30 years old, but he was big, and he was so big. I mean, he would spread his legs so wide. I thought it was kind of crowding me out, you know. But so he's this big guy, and he's dominating his. Not only is he dominating his seat, he's dominating our area. It was 2 people per aisle, I guess, you know. So it's just me and him, and I'm in the window seat. But he had to spread his legs so wide and way into my area, you know. And he was spreading a little too wide, and I just had to assert some kind of something. I had to assert my presence in some way. So I kind of moved something around. I had my little laptop bag in front of me, and I kind of moved it around a little bit and used that as an excuse to spread my legs a little bit too. And I did that so that he could feel my leg and feel that he was maybe in my area. And so I spread my leg, and my leg is touching his leg, and he didn't move his leg. We just let our legs touch each other for a long time. And I just left my leg there, our legs touching each other, and I started to feel that, and I wonder if he felt it too, but that there was some sort of bond between us. I thought, you know what, here we are, 2 men taking up space, joined at the thigh. And I thought, I started to sort of feel at one with the man at a certain point, and I started to feel like a wrestler myself. And I felt like, yeah, this is what it's like to dominate a space. But he didn't budge that leg, and I looked at our legs together. I saw them side by side, and I thought to myself, my leg looked so small compared to his leg. I'm not exaggerating. I looked like a boy. I looked at my leg compared to his leg, and it kind of burst my bubble, you know, when it comes to thinking of us as both men. It didn't make me think that he looked like a giant and I looked like a normal person. It made me think I had the leg of a boy. I looked like a child. I'm not exaggerating. It seemed like his leg was 2 legs bigger, 2 thighs bigger than my thigh. It was so big. I'm just trying to imagine it right now. I'm looking at my leg right now. It looks normal to me right now, my thigh. But compared to this man who was younger than me, it was so small. It looked like a chicken or something. I mean, it was crazy. My leg almost looked like it looked like an arm or something. You know what I mean? It was so small compared to his leg. And anyway, I guess I just started to think I wasn't a man anymore and that I was really a boy that never grew up. And I thought, I think this sounds like this could be a good story to tell someone one day, maybe to tell a child when they're going to sleep. The story about not someone who wanted to become a real boy. It's kind of like Pinocchio, but it's the story of someone who wants to become a real man. And the Jiminy Cricket character who's kind of my conscience, is Lorenz Tate from Menace to Society. Which is obviously odd because that character in that movie doesn't seem to have a conscience, but in this other context, he does have a conscience, or he acts as my conscience, and he does have some sort of moral ground. And, you know, he maybe kind of helps me along my journey into becoming a real man. So who plays Geppetto in this scenario? Maybe some sort of woman is the Geppetto, you know, the woman in the story. Okay, so there's a woman, and she's a woman maybe in her 30s, let's say, and which is still younger than me, but she's Maybe she kind of, I don't know, has a more mature presence or something. And she wants me to be a real man. That's her dream, is for me to be a real man. And I want to be a real man. So Lorenz helps me get there on this journey, and then we all live happily ever after, it seems, or something. So that's kind of the new fairy tale, I guess, for me, that I think can be derived from this experience sitting next to this wrestler of a man, this giant. You should have seen this guy, right? Anyway, we ended up, at one point he did bring his leg in, or our legs. Actually, at a certain point, I was kind of done bonding with him, or I was done kind of comparing our legs. So I kind of positioned myself. I slept a lot of the time, or I tried to, and I hate sleeping on planes. It's so hard. It's so uncomfortable. I just wish they made. Look, I can sleep sideways. I can sleep against a wall. I've done that a lot, but the walls on a plane are just curved in such ways that they make it hard for you to even sleep against the wall. I do my best, but I eventually repositioned my legs. But I'll tell you, it was a drippy flight. The plane was dripping. I don't know how many times you've flown, but sometimes you sit in these seats, and I guess something about the air conditioning, it causes condensation, and water starts to drip from the ceiling. This happens. It happened to me on this flight. And that was a bit of a bother, that things were dripping. And I kind of got into a little bit of a contentious interaction with the flight attendant. I noticed some dripping happening, and I had these napkins with me. And first of all, what I did was I stuck some of the napkins into this crevice where the water was dripping from. And, that stopped the dripping from happening. And this woman, the stewardess, came up to me and she said, she says, "You can't do that." And I said, "Oh, by the way, it wasn't doing anything. It was just in this crevice kind of area, and it wasn't, I don't know." She said that can cause an electrical issue. I mean, look, I'm not an expert about drippage and airplane air conditioning, but I cannot fathom how this could cause an electrical issue. It wasn't really blocking anything from coming out. These napkins being in there is not going to do anything. Hey, you know what? Maybe I'm wrong. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. But if any of you are listening and you're an electrician or something, maybe I'm wrong. Let me know. Let me know if I'm wrong. But I just don't think the way I positioned these napkins, they were just there to absorb the drippage. They weren't stuffed deeply into any holes. They weren't blocking any passage of air or anything like that. So, just relax, okay? And anyway, she was kind of seemed like she was mad at me or whatever. And this isn't the first time. I've talked about it before, but stewardesses can sometimes do that. I mean, flight attendants in general can power trip sometimes. So she took those out. She said, "Please don't do that again." And I said, "But it's dripping." And she said, "I'll give you some more napkins." And I don't know what she meant by that, but what do you mean, for me to put back in there? And she said, "I'll give you more napkins, but don't put them in there." I said, "Well, okay." I guess what she meant is maybe to put on my body to catch the water or something like that. Maybe. I don't know, but she did give me some more napkins, and I did lay them out on my thigh, my little boyish thigh that I have, and that was sort of the end of it. She said it wasn't going to drip anymore, and she was right. It did stop dripping eventually. So, you know what? And at the end of the flight, she said, "Was there any more dripping?" I said, "No, it actually did stop." So we made up. I got her phone number, and we're going out next week. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't get her phone number. I don't play like that. But to be honest, though, I don't mind that stewardess look. I like it. I think I like that stewardess look. I wish kind of, with Halloween coming up for the year-long Halloween, I mean, people can start wearing stewardess outfits, and that will be normal. So, you might want to think about some new outfits. Now, I got off the. Was this on the way to the flight or not? Yeah, no. This was. Now you're gonna trip out on this. So I took this flight. All right, this is still at the airport going to depart Los Angeles. Before I got into the flight, I was on this shuttle that takes you from after you check in, after you go through security, you have to take the shuttle to the gate. Okay, sometimes airlines are like that, which you got to factor that into your schedule because that can take up an extra half hour or something like that. And you might think, oh, I'm an experienced traveler. I can get to the airport a half an hour before the flight leaves or whatever. Well, if you might get this surprise move as an experience. By the way, I missed a flight because of something like this before. Anyway, that's another story. It doesn't matter. It's not even an interesting story, but this is interesting. I was on the shuttle going to the gate, and there was this old man sitting next to me. And when I say old, he was an older man. He was probably in his 70s, he looked to be, he probably was maybe early 70s, I would say, or maybe 70 on the dot. And he had hearing aids in. I noticed that about him. I just want to give you a full picture. And, he was dressed pretty normally. He was wearing a button-up shirt tucked into pants. But, yeah, gray hair. Like I said, early 70s, I would say. 70. Let's say he's 70 years old. And I noticed on his phone that he had enlarged text, which I imagine that maybe people, when they get older and maybe to see better, they enlarge the text on their phone. And I couldn't help but just take a quick little peek over at, some of the words that were on his phone. Okay, so I did it, okay? And you know me, I'm a little bit of a voyeur. I kind of don't mind getting peeks into people's lives and stuff. But, by the way, side note, before I get to this, about getting to know people a little bit, I actually ended up talking to the wrestler guy on the plane. I did, I don't know, I don't mean to jump around, but we did end up talking a little bit because he asked me about a jacket I was wearing. I was wearing a Woolrich jacket with plaid lining on the inside of it. It was a mountain parka, which I only brought because of how cold it gets on the plane. It was just purely for that because Tulsa was really hot as it is right now here in Los Angeles. But he was asking me where I got my jacket, and he was asking me what the brand was, and he liked it. And I thought I couldn't even really imagine a wrestler wearing a mountain parka. It just seemed like an incongruous style choice for such a muscular, big guy. But then I thought, it is Halloween after all in August, and maybe he's thinking outside of the box a little bit. Or maybe he's transitioning because he's foreseeing the kind of subculture becoming pop culture, and the flip that's going to happen in the next few years. And maybe as a wrestler, as an athlete, he's thinking, well, I got to sort of change up my style, and I have to kind of be more like this guy. Anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting that he was interested in my jacket. And I thought. And after he asked me about my jacket and complimented me on it, I thought, you know what? You could spread your legs as much as you want. That's what I thought. Anyway, okay, back to the shuttle. This older man, he's next to me. He's, looking elderly with the hearing aids, and he's got the enlarged text on his phone. And anyway, he texted something to someone, and the text message read, what's with the, how did he say? Hold on. What's with the red square on my dick? That's what it said. And I'm not making this up, okay? I know I make things up a lot on this show. I mean, I go off on these tangents, but he really wrote, "What's with the red square on my dick?" And I just thought that, I mean, talk about incongruous style choices. That just I wouldn't have imagined. There's a lot of questions, okay? I just wouldn't have imagined a man that age with this look to, first of all, even just use the word dick, okay? And even to say what's with, I don't know, just the whole, okay, there's a lot of questions here, right? Well, who's he asking this to, okay? Is he asking this to a doctor, or is he asking this to some lover of his or something? I mean, who's he asking this to? And yeah, I mean, okay, first of all, it's not, okay, it's not a red sore. I mean, it's not a red spot. He didn't say what's with the red spot on my dick, okay? Which I guess would be a spotted dick, wouldn't it? But he said what's with the red square. So what, I mean, what, I don't think I've ever seen something that was a square shape on it's just interesting that it was a square shape and not more of a circular shape, or, you know, just a kind of a non-shape, you know? I mean, just an amorphous kind of spot, right? But the fact that he used the word square, that just makes me really wonder what this thing really looked like. Then I'm also thinking about, well, what is it? You know, what does he have? You know, what I mean, just anything red on the penis, I mean, is already kind of disturbing. I mean, what's going on? So look, I'm sorry to have, peered into this man's private life like that and saw this really kind of piece of sensitive information here, but I did find it also pretty amusing that he wrote these words, "What's with the red square on my dick?" And I just had to share it with you. I'm sorry. And if you're listening to this for some reason, or I don't know, if you happen to be, look, if you happen to know the person with the red square on his penis, and if you are the man who is listening to this, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I don't even mean to put your, look, it's totally anonymous, okay? And I hope that that square, becomes not a square anymore, but just it goes away. I hope it goes away, and I wish you the best. And I think you seem like a great guy. I just don't want, look, as I talk about this more, I realize that, I should have taken you into consideration if you are, for some reason, one of the 10 listeners that subscribes to this podcast. But I hope that you don't take offense to what I say. I found it just amusing, and truth be told, I found it. I think it's pretty cool that you talk like that, and that you're an older guy who talks like that. I'll probably talk like that one day. I hope I don't have a square on my penis, though, at one point. Square on his penis. Jeez, what is it? It's just interesting that it was a geometrical shape. I mean, you don't see geometrical shapes unless maybe he got some sort of stamp on his penis. I mean, do you think he got his penis stamped? Maybe branded or something like that? Maybe he's into some freaky stuff. I mean, maybe year-round Halloween is really becoming a thing. It's really actualizing right before my very eyes. That seems like something kind of freaky, That's some kind of, who knows? Maybe he was being branded as maybe, I don't know. Maybe he's a gimp on his part-time or something like that. Maybe he's a retired gimp or something like that. Maybe he is really into math or something like that. Maybe got, well, I guess he's not really into math because I was thinking maybe he's really into geometry, but I guess if he wasn't, he wouldn't be using language like "what's with." What's with the red square on my dick? It sounds, it's not, it's interesting. He seems a little bit upset about it. You know what I mean? What's with the red square on my dick? Oh, what is that? What is the context for that? I was really curious, I tried to see what the next messages were going to be, but I wasn't able to, I wasn't able to see what the rest of it said. It was just a bit of a tease into this man's life. But it did make me think about my nipples, and it made me think about the red discs that are on my chest. And the weird thing about my nipples is that I have an old nipple and a young nipple. Did you know that about me? I have one nipple, so I don't have much chest hair. I'm really a boy. On maybe one day at the end of my journey, I may become a real man, but I'm a real boy, and I don't have much hair on my chest. In fact, my little brothers, who are significantly younger than me and smaller than me, they have more hair on their chest than me. And not that I care. I like the amount of chest hair that I have. I'm perfectly fine with it. But I just have a little bit of chest hair, and then I have a lot more hair that is on my nipples, or kind of around my nipples. The hair, I think, on my left nipple is darker hair. It's dark hair. The hair on my right nipple is white or gray hair. So that's the elder nipple. So that's interesting to me that there is some sort of hierarchy. There's an age. It's interesting that my nipples have an age gap. That there is one wiser, more mature nipple than the other. I've heard this about breasts. Supposedly, women's breasts can be uneven. That they can have one breast that's bigger than the other, or whatever. And I guess I kind of have that. I have one nipple that's wiser than the other, or that's more mature than the other, that's older than the other. So that's kind of interesting to me a little bit. Is that that there could be such a what do you call it, a disparity or whatever between my nipples. You'd think they'd be close in age. I wonder if maybe one, I don't know, who knows? Maybe they're they're certainly not twins. People refer to their breasts as twins. I think mine are definitely not. I think they were probably, they might be Irish twins, but they're not true twins. My brothers are twins, by the way. So, you know what I don't, I was listening to people talk. Sorry, I don't mean to complain, but there's something that, what was I watching? Maybe I was in a restaurant. Oh, no, I think that's what it was. I was in a restaurant, maybe. Or how come people refer to the chef of a restaurant as just chef? You know what I mean? They just go, oh, I have to ask chef, as if chef is the person's name. You know what I mean? They're not saying, oh, I have to talk to, Chef Abner or whatever. They just say chef. I have to, we'll have to see what chef says about it. Well, let me ask chef. Well, chef told me that this, and that. Or they'll go, yes, chef. That's kind of weird, don't you think? Why do they do that? I've seen that in TV shows or, reality kind of shows about cooking and stuff. They'll say chef. And I've been at restaurants where they'll say, well, let me ask chef. In fact, I went to not a high-class restaurant once, and the waitress was talking about, oh, let me ask chef. I thought they only did that in high-end places, but I feel like calling people chef like that feels trendy to me or something. It feels similar to when people say, they say the word set. If you're an actor, they go, oh, I'm on set, or oh, let's bring him to set. Why don't they say the set? I would never talk like that, just so you know. I would never talk like that. I would say, oh, I'm at the set right now, or I'm, okay, let's bring him to the set, But they do this kind of, it's this way that people talk, and then it becomes trendy, and then it annoys me for some reason, I know I got to stop being annoyed about stuff, but I don't know, it just seems so derivative or something, people they hear the way people talk and they think, oh, that sounds fancy, I want to sound fancy too. And I don't know, I don't play like that really, You know what's trendy right now? I noticed that what's it called? Wood panel, a kind of a just look at podcasts these days. They all have the background. They all have this wood paneling. That's this vertical. I don't know if it's paneling, but they all have this vertical wood thing right now. You know what I mean? It's just so trendy now. You know, I mean, one person had that and they thought, oh, I kind of like that. Maybe that looks kind of retro or something. And now they all have it. All the podcasts have that. Look at every podcast. There's this wood thing in the background. It's the vertical wood lines. It makes you almost think, are all podcasts being taped in the same place? They're not. They're just all copying each other because they're all trendy. Everybody's trendy. Everyone wants to fit in. Everyone tries too hard to fit in. Just be yourself and you'll fit in just fine, I think. But yeah, the vertical thing is trendy. What else? You know what? I might just wrap this up pretty soon here. Let's see. Let me see how long we've been going here. I'll go a little longer, actually. There's something that happened. I did a show tonight, okay, and I'm back from the show, and there's something that happened, but I kind of think I'm going to save it for the extended portion of the show, I think. But you know, one thing I've noticed lately is I don't look. It's hard to keep up with looking at comments on videos and stuff, and I don't do it often, but something I have noticed, this is what happened. All right, so I had the stand-up special come out. You must know about it at this point, all right? Came out in May. If you don't know about it, get out of here, you know, and watch that special. But I saw, this relates to trendy stuff in a way. I was advised by a couple friends of mine who told me what to do to try to get this as much exposure as possible, and they said to respond to comments, you know. And I've never responded to a comment before, ever in, you know, my whole life. And I've never commented on anything before, and I've never liked anything before. You know how you can like things on the internet? I've never done that. But I was told to do that, and I said, all right, I'll play the game a little bit for just this once. So I do look at the comments on the special. And a comment I see, and I've noticed this on comments on other videos when I happen to see comments on other videos on Instagram, people keep commenting that if it's a clip of my stand-up, they'll say this is AI, artificial intelligence. They'll say this guy looks like Haley Joel Osment, you know, from The Sixth Sense and AI, artificial intelligence. They say this is Haley Joel all grown up. He's no longer a boy. He's a real man. No, they don't say that. They say this is AI. And they're only saying that because AI is becoming really popular. And yeah, there are stand-up clips that are coming out now that are AI generated, or they'll take they'll take someone's joke that's an established comedian, and then they'll have an AI generated person tell the joke, and it'll look like it's real or whatever. And then there'll be, you know, fake audience and stuff like that. And I guess, to me, what I'm gathering from these people who say it's AI, or maybe it's just one person, by the way, and maybe the person's crazy, by the way. If you notice comments and they seem kind of off-putting or whatever, they're usually a crazy person, and they're from the same person. Okay, but that's another story. So my thought is that if someone thinks that I am AI, it makes me think their world must be so small that AI is the only explanation for anything absurd. You know, somebody who does absurd comedy, that, you know, I think that they must have such a limited sort of exposure to what's out there that the only explanation for them is something that has been really popular lately, which is that only AI can create this kind of absurdity. I don't know whether to take this as a compliment or just understand it as somebody who just is maybe kind of naive about the world, or just has or lives within a small world where AI can only explain this. But I mean, is the compliment version that this is so ridiculous that that it has to be a computer that made this or something like that? I mean, humans, the idea that someone can't fathom that a real human, a real boy or a real man, is not capable of thinking of something so ridiculous, that's interesting to me. I mean, that's interesting that somebody might even be like that. I mean, it makes me just wonder, what else have you not seen? You know, have you never seen a Marx Brothers movie? I mean, maybe most people haven't seen Marx Brothers movies at this point, but I don't know what else is absurd. I mean, just have you not seen stand-up comedy have you not seen just I don't know. Did you not see Conan O'Brien in the 90s? You know, I don't know if that's a good example. I'm just trying to think of something that's more nonsensical. There's stuff out there, you know. I'm just not thinking it. I mean, it just makes me think. You know, how old are you? Are you not familiar with the Dadaist movement in the 20s? I mean, come on. I mean, you know, how small is your world that you don't know about Dadaism, or that you don't know about surreal? You know, I mean, what? Have you never seen Entr'acte? Have you not seen? Do you not know? How small is your world to not know who Louis Buñuel is? No, I'm joking. I can't even think of something that's obvious. That I'm just trying to think of what the most mainstream absurd thing is in the world. You know, who's the most mainstream thing in the world? I'm just trying to think. I mean, Conan in the 90s, Late Night with Conan O'Brien was pretty absurd. I don't know. You know, the Marx Brothers are pretty absurd. What else is absurd? That was achieved mainstream success. I mean, you see absurdity pop up in everything. Lots of mainstream things. I can't think of any right now. I don't know. Maybe my world is small, you know, and I, you know, or something, because I can't think of anything else, you know. But anyway, I just, I don't know. Maybe look, in my special, it's kind of a sparse background, you know. Just there's maybe the blackness makes it look kind of AI, and you know, maybe I have such a perfect face that it looks like only AI could generate such a face, you know. You know, I don't know. Maybe just other production elements make it look kind of AI. You know, there's not. I don't like cuts to the audience unless they're extremely motivated. And feel really necessary. It feels like you really need to cut to the audience. That's the only time I like to cut to an audience. So a lot of those clips are just going to be one shot on me the whole time. And, you know, that's the way I like it. You know, I just don't like cuts. I don't like cuts in general on stuff. And so maybe that looks like it's AI, is that there's no editing or something, or you don't see the audience. But I don't know. In the end, I kind of just think, maybe these people are just a bunch of bozos. Maybe they're just being bozos for Halloween. So, all right. Well, I think I will wrap it up now, and I want to. Well, okay. Hold on. Before I do, what's the takeaway from being thought of as AI? Is that a good thing to be thought of as AI? Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? I think ultimately, I don't think it's good or bad, I guess. I think it's neutral, right? I did think to myself, maybe I need to embrace being thought of as AI. You know, I mean, that's kind of interesting. I always wanted to be a cartoon when I was a kid. So, in a way, being AI is kind of like me being a cartoon in a way. You know? I mean, yeah, okay, I'll be AI. You know, I'll be AI that was created by myself. I mean, what if I started to promote myself as the first AI comedian? That'd be kind of interesting. Maybe I could get some buzz off of that. You know what I mean? Because AI is kind of trendy right now. You know, maybe that could lead to me becoming some sort of internet phenomenon, you know, first AI comedian. I mean, I wouldn't be the first, but I'd be the first to be as sort of present and maybe as prolific or something. I don't know. I don't know. I think I'm probably better suited to not be an AI comedian and just be a BW comedian. And what does BW stand for? Well, if you don't know, you better ask somebody. If you want to continue on with me, I'm going to talk about this kind of somewhat pathetic thing that happened tonight. It's not that pathetic. It's not a big deal. It's actually kind of cool in a way. But I'm going to talk about that and in the extended. If you want to join me for the extended, you can go to patreon.com/poundcast. And it is, and you get the episode a half a week early. No, not really half a week early. You get it Tuesday night at midnight, usually, unless there's any technical issues or any, I don't know, unforeseen delays. But normally the episodes come out Thursday night at midnight. So you get them a couple days early, whatever. I'm sure you can wait. But some of you, I know you're just itching to, get the next episode, so you can get it a little early. Help you get over the hump of the week, Sometimes you need that extra you need that extra boost, and that's what I'm here for, is to give you that boost to get you through to the end of the week. So that's what you get there. That's pretty much all you get, but it's okay. I mean, it's a service that I'm happy to provide. If you want to watch the show on video and you want to see my AI presence visually, you can go to youtube.com/Brent Weinbach podcast. And I can't think that there's anything else for me to say. But, I can't think that there's anything else for me to say. But, you know what I realized recently? I realized that, no, forget it. I'll save it for the extended. Sorry, I don't mean to. Yeah, I'll talk about it. I'll talk about it later. But anything else? No, I think that's it. Yeah, it's the Brent Weinbach podcast. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.